Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining the 43 North Small Business School. Sorry, we're running a little late. We had some technical difficulties on the back end, but I think we're all set here. I'm just going to give everybody just a couple more seconds to get settled here. I can see we have a lot of people signing in, so I'll just give it a minute and then we will get rolling. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I am Maura Devlin. I'm the VP of Marketing and PR here at 43 North. We are well into our small business school, and we hope that you're all continuing to find it valuable. I'm particularly excited about today's topic as related to the marketing world. It's all about SEO for small business. And I know for a lot of you, this might be the first time you're starting to think about applying this to your business. And we really couldn't have a better person here to talk to you about that. We're joined here today by Mary Wusu. For those of you that don't know Mary, she is a marketing guru. She is a former agency exec at a local agency here. She's an entrepreneur, and she's also a professor at Canisius College. Mary is a friend of mine and a former colleague, and I can tell you firsthand that she is who I think to be really one of Buffalo's smartest digital marketing minds. So this is a real treat for everybody that's on here today. And I really mean that. Mary is brilliant. And we're so excited that she could be here today to speak with everyone. So before I officially hand it over, I think most of you know the drill by now. Drop your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom. Do it as we go. We'll spend the last 15 minutes or so trying to get to as many questions as we can. So without wasting any more time, I'll hand it over to Mary. Thanks for joining us, Mary.
Oh, Maura, thank you so much. And your intro was really moving. I got a little teary, but I held it together. I am very, very excited to be here with all of you today. This is going to be a very action-packed session because I believe in not just talking about things in theory, but actually giving you what you need to actually get things done and move the needle on your business, at least a little bit today. So let's dive right into it. What I want to tell you about is why your SEO isn't working and how to use analytics to discover hidden opportunities to boost your Google traffic. So just to level set for all of us today, SEO is an acronym for search engine optimization. And in short, it's all the things that you do to your website so that you show up higher on Google. And not just higher, but you show up without having to pay for ad space on Google. So it's the free listings on Google and how to get there. So I want to, in our time together today, to completely demystify this whole idea of SEO and break it down for you so that you have actions you can take back to work, to your bosses, to yourselves, whatever it might be, and start to move the needle on your search. And most importantly, on your business. Because SEO is all about reaching audiences that you're not touching today, right? You go to Google to search for things when you don't know where else to turn. And your customers are doing that today. It's just that you're not up at number one. Maybe you're not on page one. Maybe you're not even on page two. So how do you get there? How do you make more of an impact by using search as your catalyst? I have demystified the whole idea of SEO into 6 fundamental sprints, okay? And people always say, well, SEO is a marathon. Well, I think SEO is just a series of sprints. If you can bucket things together and get them done, you will see success quicker than if you didn't think of it that way. So the 6 sprints actually spell out the word magnet, which of course also is how your site is going to be from Google's perspective. So M, manage. It's all about taking control of your data. You cannot manage what you can't see. So at the M stage, it's all about what are the things that I need to understand about my website so I can improve it, right? So manage, and I always, when I work one-on-one with businesses, I do a huge manage step and give you all the things that are happening on your site that you need to fix. And those things then live under all of these other sprints. So in the manage stage, we discover everything you need to do, and some of them will be things that fall under accelerate. So some of them will be technical issues you need to fix on your site. Some of them will be grow things, like things that relate to, you've got really good structure of your site. Maybe you don't have technical issues, but there are some keywords you don't have on your site. There are some search phrases that people are Googling right now that relates to your business that you're not ranking for. I identify for you the pages that need you to apply those keywords for the best impact, right? So that's the growth stage. Find keywords people are searching for, identify the pages that exist on your website already where you need to insert those keywords and get them in there, and you'll see your traffic start to move up. The nurture stage takes the growth stage and kicks it up a notch and says, here are some additional keywords we discovered that you don't have any content built around. You need to create a content strategy, and you need to start creating maybe blog content. Maybe it's just expanding a really big portion of your site and talking about a topic a bit deeper than you are already. So it's about identifying new pages to create, new content to introduce. Echo. The echo stage identifies pages of your site that need other people, other websites to link to your site for. So I'll say it differently. I'll say it again. Sometimes your ranking depends on other websites linking to your website so that the search engines can understand that you are an authority and a credible authority at that. So some pages are doing well. They just need you to link. They just need a couple links to boost them up because they're stuck at position 6, but you just need them to be position 3 on Google. Sometimes those are the pages that just need a couple links coming in to help them. And then traction. Traction is all about systemizing your SEO and really creating it to be something that's rinse and repeatable, as I say there. So what are the items that you're doing well? Where can we make your conversions better? How can we get more people to do the things we want them to do, or in the world of marketing, to convert? So we identify things like button placements. Where's the button on where's your buy now button? Should you change that to add to cart, right? Things like that, things that are more about the placement and positioning of things that affect the user experience. All right, so that's the magnet method. Now, so like I said, I always start with the manage stage, and with that, I typically would give my client, whoever I'm working with, a whole list of things to do, and then they apply them. So the auditing stage, the whole idea of auditing with the manage stage is huge. Today, I want to delve into some of the most common things that I find in the manage stage that apply to all the other stages. I want to give you some of the most common errors that I see so that you can go check if your site has these errors and fix them so you can start to see traction, all right? So let's get into it. All right, so let's start with some of the manage items that I see often. All right, so oftentimes when I am first looking at a website, I notice that they don't have Google Search Console set up. And sometimes people will say, well, what is Google Search Console? You've probably heard of Google Analytics. That is Google's tool that tells you how people are using your website. It's a free tool from Google, tells you how many visits you get, tells you when people came to your site, what pages they looked at, what pages they didn't look at, how long did they stay, all the statistics about your site, not just Google people, everybody coming to your site, how they're behaving. That's Google Analytics. Google Search Console is another free Google tool that less people are aware of. And I want you, if you don't know about it or haven't heard about it, listen up, because this is very important. This tool tells you what happened on your website when Google visited it. It also tells you how your website performs in Google searches. Now, I'm talking a lot about Google today because it is the #1 search engine. They have north of 90% of the market share in the US and globally as well. So we're going to talk a lot about Google today because it has the potential to make your business exponentially bigger than it might be today. So you want to know what Google thinks about your website. When Google came to your website, because Google visits your website just like a regular person does. It just comes in the form of a robot. It's like a little script that crawls your website. It goes from your homepage, it finds all these pages, and it takes it back to Google's database. Well, Google tells you in Google Search Console, when it came to crawl your site, what issues it had. Was there a page that was not found? Was there a page with a broken link? Was there a page that took too long to load? Was there a page that had mobile issues? These are all things that Google will ding your website for, and they're literally telling you these things in Search Console. But if you don't have a Search Console account set up for free, you're missing out. And you're missing out on fixing those problems, and you're missing out on those audiences that Google will rank you higher if those problems didn't exist. So for everything I'm going to show you today, I'm also going to tell you why it hurts your SEO, which I just did, and what you need to do to fix it. Usually 3 simple steps for most of these things we'll talk about today. So if you don't know Google Search Console, just Google Google Search Console and you'll get the link to Google Search Console. It'll ask you to create a free account. Go ahead and create that free account. I'm telling you in the second bullet here, create a domain account. It'll ask you, do you want a domain account or do you want, there's another account you can create. Domain account allows you to tell Google, capture my whole website, whether I've got sub pages or, sometimes your website's like shop.site.com or blog.mysite.com. When you choose domain, you're telling Search Console, track my whole site, including those subdomains, the dot items. So that's why I'm telling you to do that, so that nothing is left off the table. And then the third most important piece is to designate someone who will own the task of opening those emails, because Google is going to start emailing you. This is the problem we're having with your site. Here's a page we couldn't find. Don't let those go to spam. Make sure somebody looks at those. That's my first tip for you. Second tip, another managed stage item that I run into a lot is you're not subscribed to a tool that is telling you the changes, the large sweeping changes that are happening across the world of search in general. So not your website per se, but there are all these tools out there, one of them being the SEMrush sensor, which tell you, because they track a bunch of websites, not just yours, these third-party tools like SEMrush sensor, and they tell you when there's a shakeup in the rankings for a large portion of websites across the web. When that happens, Google is changing its formula. So these tools will tell you, hey, there's a huge shakeup and it happened yesterday or it happened last week and it's still happening. So it's great to just keep a pulse on what might be happening so that you can know if your performance suddenly drops or suddenly improves. You can say, okay, something's going on here in the broader world of search that is going on that I need to know about. And sometimes the results are positive if they work in your favor, sometimes they don't work in your favor. Either way, you know, because you went ahead and set up an account, you subscribe to the notifications for semrush.com/sensor, and you've got an email address that you use that's sending you this information so that you're operating from a place of knowledge all the time about what's happening in the world of search. Are you with me? I hope you're with me. Let's go to the next one. A few accelerate things that I run into a lot when I'm doing my audits. So your site is riddled with 301 redirect chains. All right, let me take a step back and talk about 301 redirects and what are we talking about? You know how sometimes you can have a website or a web page on your website and you decide to delete it, which is fine. Sometimes when you delete your pages or this happens a lot too when you rebuild your site. You end up with sort of an old version of the page and a newer version of the page. Happens to all of us. Let me give you a visual. Let's say page A is originally when you had a site, you had a page called Contact Us. Then let's say you change that page at one point, and not just the content of the page, you actually change the name of the page to be /contact us without the dash, right? Maybe your web company built you a new site, or whoever is building your site changed the name of it. So they put in what's called a redirect. A redirect is just basically, like the name sounds, it's an automatic redirection, rerouting to the new page. Perfectly fine, happens all the time. It's not a problem. And it tells the search engines that the old page has permanently moved to the new page. Page A has moved to page B. The problem is when you have a chain. So you have a third version of your site or a third version of the page, and now you've got page A redirecting to page B, which redirects to page C. This happens, when this happens, any value that page A was passing on to page B. So in other words, anytime you change your website, your pages, let me tell you this. When you do a Google search and you're looking at all the blue links, they're not all just a home page of a website. They're like a page's about page, a page's service page, a page's contact page, right? That sea of blue links is different pages within a website. So Google knows you by the contents of the pages of your website. So when you make changes like this, you're literally changing how that contact page was ranking. So when you do a redirect, that's telling Google, hey, that page it changed, but also whatever rank my contact us page had, give it to page B now, because it's the replacement. Well, now you've got page C in the mix. Now, what's the purpose of page B? Page B is serving as it's sort of sucking some of the energy, in the world of SEO, we call it equity, that page A would normally pass directly to page C. So page B is serving as this like, it's serving as a buffer that's unnecessary. So you always want to make sure that you don't have redirect chains, that you have just straight up redirects. So the better thing to do would just be to fix your redirects so A goes straight to C, all right? So how do you do this? How do you even find out that you have a redirect chain problem? Well, the good news is it's something that you can do, and you can do it for free. There's a tool out there called Screaming Frog SEO Spider. That's the full name of it. But you would go to screamingfrog.co.uk. And there you can download the tool. And if you needed to do more fancy things, you have to pay for it. But for what I'm talking about with you today, you will not need to pay for Screaming Frog. I use Screaming Frog all the time for my day-to-day work for SEO. So you can essentially put in your entire, you go to Screaming Frog, you put in your website address. I'm going to show you my screen. Maura, can you please come on and tell me if you can see that I'm now sharing a different screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. All right. So I chose 43North here. And all you do is when you open up Screaming Frog, it's going to look like this. And you put in your website address up here at the top and you just press start. And what it's going to do is run you a full report of your entire website. And you can see how many pages your website has because it's numbering them for you, right? All of this. Lots of great detail about your site. But the most important thing is that one of the reports is going to be your redirect chains. You go to reports, you go to redirects, and you can click redirect chains. All right. It's good this is being recorded, right? Because you can go back and watch if you missed any of that. And if you click redirect chains, it'll download for you a report of all the pages on your website today that have that redirect chain happening. So now you've got your list. So what you do with that is you fix them. You ask your web person to fix them. And if you don't have a web person, of course, I'm happy to help if you need me to. But your other option would be to talk to like your hosting company, your website hosting company, to try to help you out if you want to use the resources you already have. All right, good, because you want to get the benefit of your websites that are already ranking, and you don't want this to be a problem for you. Grow and nurture. All right, a couple things that I always find with these two stages, and actually it affects the traction stage as well. Let me show you. So one of the things that I find, this is especially for any of you on the call who have a site that has a site search box. So if your site has its own search box, you know what I'm talking about, right? So I'm talking to you right now, all right? And you've never checked the exit rate of your website's search results page. This is what I mean. You know, your search box on your website is there for people to search. And if somebody searches and they hit enter and they get the results, what should happen next? They should click on one of those results and continue to spend time on your website, right? The exit percentage is how many people are leaving your site from the search result page. That means they didn't even click a result. What does that tell you? It tells you two things. One, what people are looking for on your site so that you can create more of that content, right? That's such great information. It's what we in marketing say, voice of the customer. Somebody types something in your search box, that's great to know. But it also tells you that those people that exited didn't find what they were looking for. So it tells you that you're missing out on having better content on your site, that you're underserving your audience. So if you have Google Analytics, and you should, okay, you should have Google Analytics, I'm just gonna walk you through the steps that you would take to find this report. And I've numbered them here for you. So you would log into your Google Analytics account. And for those of you who don't have Google Analytics running on your website, I said earlier, it's that free tool that tells you everything that people do on your website. So you would want to just Google Analytics and go ahead and create an account for your business. And it starts tracking information from the day that you set it up, okay? So once you've got it set up and it's starting to collect data, what you can do is you can go into the behavior report, and you'll see it right there on the left-hand side. It's easy to find. You click behavior, you click site content, and then you click exit pages. And this is telling Google Analytics, show me the report of the exit pages, the number of people that are exiting from my site, like the pages that are serving as pages that people are leaving my site from, the last page they see before they leave my site. That's your exit page report. And within that exit page report, you want to narrow down to the pages that show your search result pages. Because normally in this list, you see your home page, your about page. These are any page that somebody left your website from. So to know the search result pages, you would just, you see that little search box here that says advanced, okay? You would type in there what your search result page address is. All right, so you type that in there. And so that's what I've done. And here it's telling me that these are some of the search results, some of the search phrases people have searched. And you can see the search keyword is there, like workout, add lumen, choose wine, right? This is just an example. And these are the words that people were literally searching. So you see the green call out I have on the screen. I can see looking at that second row that there were 3 times where somebody searched for workout on this particular site, and 2 of them exited. You can see the exits is 2 and the page views is 3. So that's almost 70% of folks that search for workout end up leaving, end up exiting from that result page, the workout result, the page that showed them workout results. You know what I'm saying? So that tells me my results aren't great. They're not good. People are leaving. They're unsatisfied. So guess what you would do from an SEO perspective? You would create a page about that particular term. Or you would find the page that you have already about that term, and you would make sure that that page shows up in search. So is it a technical problem that needs to be fixed, right? Why is it not showing up? Or the third option is to take, if you already have a page about that topic, first make sure there's not a technical problem why it's not showing up in the results, but also how can you make it so people are more likely to click on it when it does show up in the search results? You know, should you change the name of the page? Should you change the little description that people see on the search? You know what I'm saying? So it gives you the ammunition you need to improve the content that people are actively searching for, people that are already coming to your site, right? Get those people to convert, to turn into customers. And then when your SEO starts getting even better, then you've got the formula in place to get even more of them to convert, because you're making sure that your site is not leaking people out, all right? So I've listed out the steps for you right here. Do a search on your sites to see, oh, that's the one step. So remember when I said you would type into that little search box, the URL of your site search page? Everybody's site search page is different. So you would go to your website and kind of do a fake search and see your results. What does it say? Is it like mywebsite.com/S equals, and then the word they search? Like, what does your website do when somebody searches in that box? When you look at that result page, what does that URL say? So you need to understand that string. Everybody's is different, little different. So that's step 1. What is my string? And then you go to Google Analytics, you follow those steps. And then in that last step here, you put that string in. So for me, it was S ? S equals. That's what I put into the string box to get the results. That's how you narrow down the long report here. Okay, good. All right, echo stage. Some of the things I find the most is that you have no sense of your unlinked brand mentions. I told you about links coming to your site and how important those are, all right? So people linking to you from a search perspective is a huge indicator to Google. Imagine you're Google and everybody's got a website about widgets and how they make widgets. Well, Google's like, well, who's the better widget maker? It's the one that other people are talking about. It's the one that has reviews on so-and-so website. It's the one that has a social media presence where it's got a lot of followers. It's the one that's been quoted in the news, right? Those mentions of your brand outside your website help Google paint the picture of everything that you are and everything that you stand for. Sometimes you're unaware that people are talking about you. And so, you know, there might be an article about you or something, and just being mentioned is good. But when that mention is linked, where that person actually has a link in the article that comes to your website, that has slightly more weight than if they just mentioned you. So I want to empower you to know how to find your unlinked brand mentions, how to find all the mentions of you out there, but that don't have links. So here's what I do. I set up a Google Alerts account and I create an alert. If you're not aware of Google Alerts, it's another free Google tool. You know, Google's trying to take over the world one tool at a time, as we all know. But here's another example. So Google Alerts is a free Google tool that tells you, you just put in what you wanted to track. Is it your name? Is it your company name? Is it the name of a product or service that you offer? What is it that you want Google to track? So what I say you need to do are you put in your brand and then minus your website.com. So for me, my business is called Guru Bound. So in Google Alerts, once I set up an account with a free account with Google Alerts, it would say, what alerts do you want us to track? And you can track as many as you want. And I'll say one of them is track Guru Bound. I'd put in the word Guru Bound and I'd put minus gurubound.com. That means find me anytime that the word Guru Bound is mentioned across the web where it's not mentioned on my website. So the minus piece makes sure that Google Alert doesn't look at your website. It looks at the other website, looks at the rest of the world. And you can, like I said, you can create as many alerts as you want. And so what do you do once you start getting these? So Google will start emailing you, right? These alerts, these unlinked brand mentions from that point on. And so what do you do with these? Well, I've got a script that I want you to use. Because what I want you to do is very easily reach out to the folks that have written about you and ask them if they would provide a link. And here's a script that has worked really well for me in the past. Hey, person, I noticed that you mentioned Guru Bound on your website. And I paste a link of where they mentioned it so that they can be refreshed, like, oh yeah, we did write an article about you, right? So you don't want them to go trying to find the link. I like to put it in the email. I say, I really appreciate the mention. I'm glad that you wanted to share my brand with your readers. Would you mind linking back for attribution purposes? Ideally, this is a part that a lot of folks will leave out, but I try to tell them what page I want them to link to. Because based on what they wrote about with my business, maybe I don't want them to link to my homepage. Maybe I want them to link to a particular service page that I offer. Maybe because the article aligns more with that, right? So I like to add this last paragraph that says, ideally, if you can link, and I'll say, I'll pick out a word in the article. So I'll say, if you can link where you said SEO specialist to my gurubound.com/services page, that would be great. Thanks. And I put my name and my contact information. They don't always respond, and that's okay. You can send a follow-up in a couple of weeks. But when they do, you did very little work for huge reward, because links are the things that can drive a position. Like if you are the bottom of page 1 on Google or on page 2 of Google, the next page of Google, a link coming into that page that's ranking at that level can shoot you right up to the top 5, especially if that link is coming from a website that Google considers really reputable. So links from reputable sites that are also relevant to your industry have way more weight than a link from a website, that has nothing to do with your business, and that is a very small site, very not well known. So when you're doing your brand mentions to help you prioritize things, think about 2 things. Is this site reputable? Have they been around for a long time? Are they a respected business, right? And 2, what's the second thing I said? I just lost it. Have they been around for a long? Oh, and are they relevant? Are they relevant to my business, right? So, is my business about competitions and helping small businesses find incubators to grow? And is that article sort of related to that? Or is my business, is it like somebody that fixes tables and chairs and they have nothing to do with my business? So all things equal, pick the ones that are more relevant and more authoritative. Those will drive up your rankings way better than the other. Another echo thing that I see all the time are 404s. So 404 is a code. It's just like 301 was a code. 404 is a code that just represents some sort of change or error. A 404 is a page not found. You've seen them all the time. I've seen them. You see them on websites all the time. You go to a page, it says page not found. It's fine for you to delete pages of your website. It's completely your prerogative. The problem is when that page had backlinks. We just talked about backlinks. Imagine you killed some page of your website because you did a redesign or because you just didn't like it, and you change the name of it. Remember, I'm talking about the name of your of these pages, because if you just change the content of the page, but you don't change it from about to about us or anything, foundational to the page name, then you didn't really delete the page, right? But if you deleted the page itself, the URL is gone, then you need to really be mindful of what your backlinks were. And actually, you should do this before you delete a page, right? So I'm going to walk you through how to identify pages that you shouldn't, you should be more careful about deleting. And if, by the way, if there's a page you just need to kill off your website, it's just old content, you don't sell that product anymore, you don't offer that service anymore, like I said, it's your prerogative, but you want to, instead of deleting that page, or you want to delete that page, but you want to create a 301 redirect rule. Remember we talked about 301s, where you say, yes, this page is gone, but you tell your developer or your technical person, create a rule that anybody trying to get to the page I deleted should be redirected to this one. And when people get redirected, so does Google. And they pass along all the equity that that page used to have. All right. So not only does it create bad user experience to have 404s that had backlinks, because literally if somebody has a link on their website still linking to that page, those links to your site are broken. So that's a bad user experience. But also not having the backlinks hurts your SEO. I hope you're with me and you're following. All right, so here's what you need to do. All right, there are a few tools out there. One of them is called Ahrefs, as you can see here. All right, it has a free trial, but it's a $7 7-day free trial. It's a $7 trial, so it's not actually free. They changed it. So it's a tool that tells you your backlink data, though, among a bunch of other things. If you wanted to invest in Ahrefs, it's like $99 a month to have the full-blown software. But for our purposes today, you could just sign up for a free trial sign up for a $7 trial, and you'd basically see a report like this. Let me show you. So you go into Ahrefs, it looks like this. You put your domain at the top and you hit search. And then you click the backlinks report, and it'll literally, and you also click the do follow. Do follow is like all the backlinks that are giving my site credit, that are driving my site higher in rankings, right? So you select that little do follow drop down, and then you export this. That's all, right? 4 simple steps. Now you've got an export of all of the pages of your website that have backlinks coming in. All right. Now you're going to take that exported list and you're going to go into Screaming Frog. Remember Screaming Frog? We talked about it already. And in Screaming Frog, here, I'm going to tell you right here. You're going to take your exported CSV from Ahrefs. You're going to copy those URLs from that report. You're just going to highlight and copy them from that CSV file that you exported from Ahrefs. CSV is just a fancy name for spreadsheet. And in Screaming Frog, you're going to be able to go into, at the top, you can do something that's called change the mode. Let me show you. You're going to click mode and you're going to click list. And this just allows you to paste the list of the keywords of the pages that you copied. You're just going to paste them into Ahrefs. So instead of having it, basically what you're doing is you're telling Screaming Frog, don't look at my whole site, just look at these pages that have backlinks that I just exported from Ahrefs. I just want you to look at these. And I want you to tell me if any of these are 404 pages, because Screaming Frog is what will tell you if those pages are 404, like you've deleted them or not. Even though if you looked at the list, you might be able to figure that out on your own anyway. But sometimes the list from Ahrefs is very long, right? This list that I just talked to you about, sometimes it's really long. And you don't want to go through it one by one and be like, did I delete that page? Is that a page I deleted? Is that a page I deleted? So you want to use Screaming Frog because it'll tell you, you just paste those URLs in and it'll just spit out a report and say, of all these pages that you pasted, these are the 404s, and it'll give you that. And now you have your list of pages that have backlinks which are pages that you deleted, right? So what are you going to do with this? Easy. Tell your technical person to go ahead and set up redirects, just like we said the first time around, the 301 redirect, or ask your developer to do, or ask your hosting company, call them up and say, hey, GoDaddy or whoever, I need to put in redirects. I don't know how to do it. you have a tool to help me do it? Or you can reach out. My contact information is all over this, this whole presentation. So you know how to reach me if you need to, and we can figure something out, all right? So that's the last echo item I have for you. And the last thing I have for you today is the traction. It's related to the traction stage. Remember, the traction is all about systemizing your SEO and making it rinse and repeatable, all right? So oftentimes we're so focused on what's my ranking for my keyword? You know, when I type in my company name, I'm nowhere, I'm not on Google. When I type in my product name, you know, doctor, or I type in whatever it is, I'm not number one. I want you to know that your rankings are not the most important SEO thing to be looking at. For me, I say you got to start with the revenue. We got to start having a conversation about how much traffic are you already getting from SEO right now? Because that's easy to find in tools like Google Search Cons or Google Analytics. We can see how much traffic you're getting, and we can look at your website to see how much of that traffic is turning into customers, meaning are they filling out your form? Are they clicking the button that says add to cart, right? So could we fix some issues with the revenue part of your site, right? This is what I call the traction, like the user experience, right? Let's start with how to improve the revenue of your existing traffic. Maybe people just need to apply for something or submit something, whatever it is that you're tracking on your site. How do we get more people that are already coming there to do more of that? So let's tie let's have a revenue conversation first. Then let's try to figure out ROI, because you know revenue is one thing, but the return on investment is another. Especially if you're on this call and you work for someone, oftentimes they want to know, well, it's great for you to bring SEO into the mix, but what's it gonna return for the business? I like to have that conversation too. Traffic is hugely important. How many links you're getting to your website is also important, and also, of course, your individual rankings. And there are all these tools. All these tools that we've talked about today for free will tell you these numbers. And I want to show you, for the clients that I work with, I use my own proprietary tool, and I want to share with you what I do. Here, let's exit out of this. So here, I'm sharing with you a podiatrist who happens to be located in Florida, who needed some SEO help, right? So I'm able to track, of course, like how she ranks for individual keywords. That's important. Podiatrist Hallandale, foot doctor, she's a foot doctor. Foot Dr. Hallandale, and I can see on a page basis, is she ranking number one? Is she ranking number two? How she's ranking, and the little dots you see, that's her map rankings, right? So I can see if she's ranking in the regular Google listing, she's number two. On the map, she's number three. And I can see when things dip a little bit, I can see right away. So the rankings are important to track. And I can tell you when I started working with her, her SEO was non-existent. This is 2016, but look at 2020, when we started working together, how much traffic she was getting. Okay, traffic is important. How that moved up. This is July, this is August. From 4 people a month finding her, coming to her website from Google, to 500, 1,600, 2,300, okay? I mean, these numbers are crazy, but I'm able to track them and I'm able to tell her, this is the impact it's having on your traffic. But beyond that, we talk about how many of these people she's getting on her website that are actually turning into actual patients. Are they coming to you for the things that we optimize your site for? Are they coming to you for ingrown toenails? Are they coming to you for foot, like walking problems, calluses, right? All these things that we said, these are individual things that we need to build up on your website. So we improved her rankings for individual services that she offered. And then on top of that, we can see how she ranks compared to her competitors. So I see snapshots of each competitor. Every date, I'm seeing who's number one, number two, number three, number four, who's number one, number two, right? I'm seeing if any new competitors are entering the space, which makes me a smarter marketer and makes her a smarter business owner. And then on top of that, this is the potential piece. This is the SEO potential component where I'm able to say to her, currently, based on the keywords that you rank for already, right? This is how much traffic you're bringing in, this 2,300. And if 1 in every 100 people converts for you as a patient, and if each patient is worth $50, these are just fake numbers, right? But you can, with this tool that I use for my clients when we have these conversations, I quantify the value of SEO. So how many people convert? Is it 1 out of every 100? So it's 1% conversion rate. Is it 2? Is it 2% conversion rate? Like how many people are converting and what is the value of a conversion, right? So if we put these in, then down here, expected traffic volume, we can start to estimate based on the keywords that we are going after. So are we going to try to go after foot doctor? Are we, right? You saw those terms, right? For your business, insert what those words might be. We know how many people search for every word. So I know how many people search for foot doctor. If I were working with you, I'd know how many people search for the terms that you want to rank for, because the tool will tell us that too. And we estimate how much traffic you would get if you ranked in the top 5 listings, top 10 for Google. And we can make a case to your boss, to yourself. All right, this is, if you rank in the top 10, this is how much traffic we can expect per day if you are in the top 10. And this is if we had to pay for that for paid search, this is how much it would cost you per day to rank for that. So it's just a nice way to say, we're not paying for those terms. We're just ranking for them. This is how many clients you would have because your conversion rate is 1 out of 100. This is how much revenue you would have per day if your income is that much per client. I hope you're following, right? So I'm very analytical. My background, as Maura said, I was an exec at one of the big agencies, and my job was head of analytics and digital strategy, because the numbers don't lie, right? So we talk about that and we quantify that, and that's how we tell a better, stronger SEO story. So I say all that to implore you to know that SEO is not just about ranking. It's about what that ranking gives to your business, how it grows the business, right? It's about the revenue story. So I'm going to wrap with you and just tell you that as I'll start where I finished, which was that we always want to start with that manage stage and really figure out, like, pull your site apart, look at every individual page and say, this page has a 301 problem. This page has a 404 problem. This page needs links. This page has bad keywords, right? And when I work, if we have a chance to work together, I would do that audit for you. And so I say we start with data. So the stuff on the left-hand side here, look at every page and assess for you. Literally, you get a spreadsheet of every single page and what it needs. And then I also look at your user experience. So I put a little code on your site. We track how people are clicking, what are the hotspots people are clicking on? What are the things they're not clicking on? We figure out how to make your website better from a conversion perspective. Those things I hand to you as actionable deliverables. So you get from me, literally, okay, these are the things to do for these groups of pages. Your blog needs to have this big change. This section needs to have that big change. So you have what I call the perfect SEO audit, which tells you all the things to fix. You get how to fix those things and a baseline report. This is how you rank today, so that you can, just like that podiatrist, you can see as you make the changes what's happening with your site. So, but today I have given you what you need to get this stuff done, and reach out if you need my help. I want to end where I started, which is today's date. I had my date. This is today's date. And what will you do next? I hope you don't just listen to this and go back and just kind of move on. I hope you take some action. Some action is better than no action. And it's not about perfection, it's about progression. So I implore you to do more for your SEO than you were before an hour ago when we got started. And go to gurubound.com, contact me there. I have a form there. And let's stay in touch and see if I can help you make your business even stronger. Thanks so much for having me. I'll take any questions you have now.
Wow, Mary, thanks a lot. This was a great presentation and just an awesome way to connect it to your personal story. Thank you. And you're getting amazing feedback in our chat and Q&A. So I'm just sorting through these here, and I'll pick out a couple questions so we can try to get to as many as we can. Someone asked, should we get written permission to backlink other respective companies? Like, they're not sure if there's a legality there or.
No, backlinking is literally a human to human. It's a conversation. So you're sending somebody an email.
No, Mary, you're echoing. I'm not sure if that's just for me, but.
Is it better? Am I still echoing?
You are for me. Yeah, you are for everyone.
All right. Let me try to dial in. I'll just try to connect on my phone. Sorry about that. Still echoing.
Yeah.
Let's just try to. Any better?
No.
Will you? Oh, sorry, folks. I don't know what's going on, but try to figure it out. I'm gonna mute myself here.
Yeah, Mary, I can see you in here now on your other device.
Okay, can you hear me, Maura?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. I'm just going to speak through my phone. So the question was backlinks. No, you don't need anyone's permission. Backlinks is very much a human-to-human thing. You're literally emailing real people and asking them to link to you. By the way, you can do this backlinking thing with associations or membership groups that you're in. You're just asking for a link back to your website. And if they're willing to do it, you say thank you. And that's it. There's no legality to it per se.
Good to know. Another question here. So this is someone that owns a local children's gym, and they have a website hosted by GoDaddy, but they use different software for registration. So they're linked, but they're both independent. So they want to know what's the best and easiest way to make sure both sites get the appropriate views and traction.
Well, I think it depends on, if you're talking about setting up a tool like Google Analytics or Google Search Console, so you can see traffic data and know what's going on with both sites. You can set up more than one domain or subdomain. If it's like register.mysite.com or whatever, you can set up more than one account with all the tools that we talked about today. So you won't lack information. You won't miss out on it. You just might track it. You just might have to switch from one account to the next, but you should be fine tracking everything, even though they live in different places. I hope that helps.
And then here's another question. We have a couple similar ones. So I'll see if you if one of these covers most of them. Does it impact your ability to manage your SEO if you're working through a website service bureau? So a firm that customizes your website in an industry, and they do it for a number of other businesses within this industry.
That happens a lot, especially like in the medical space, the legal space, right? There's some big players that sort of build everybody's website for them. That's generally fine. The problems that I have seen with that is when you end up with what we call in the world of SEO duplicate content, which is that they're basically kind of copying and pasting whatever they're saying on everybody's website. They're just swapping out your name for somebody else's name, that kind of thing. And you don't want that kind of thing happening. That's the only thing, because Google, if you're Google and you're trying to rank a podiatrist down the street with the other podiatrist down the street, and their websites are the same except for the name, you'll know that they are duplicates of each other, and you'd rather rank somebody that's not a suspect. So I see that a lot with articles they might write for your blog, or, you know, those kinds of more extended services that they might add on to your core service that you buy from them. So just have a conversation with them about duplicate content, that you're getting unique content on your site, not just for your core site, but your blog content, your articles content that they're creating. That's going to be really important for that kind of scenario.
Yeah, Mary, and I know you covered some of this in the discussion, but you know, if someone is just starting when building their initial website, are there tools or specific classes that you recommend for them as they get started?
I think so. I have a course on SEO, you know, that I provide to as a service. So I would be a great resource for you if you're getting started and you want to get your SEO right from the beginning. So reach out to me. Other than that, I would say, you know, I think every business, when you're starting off, you want to think SEO first. How do I build my site structure from a search perspective? How do I make sure my site is even findable by the search engines? Like, all those initial questions I think are important to ask at the beginning. And then when you go to build it, a lot of the things I said already apply, you know, like making sure you have Google Analytics turned on, that you have Search Console running, right? Those foundational things, so you know right out of the gate how your site is performing, and you're communicating directly with the search engines through their command center, Search Console, that they're, you know, they're able to tell you what errors they're seeing. Those things are so foundational and so helpful to have. So, but other than that, if you kind of want to do some learning on your own, you know, nothing wrong with going on YouTube and kind of searching around like SEO best practices. If you didn't want to get in touch, maybe you don't like my style and you want to kind of Google on your own, that's fine. You know, you can find a fair amount of content for, you know, SEO for new sites, SEO for new website builds, those kinds of things. And there's plenty of information for you to have.
So I think maybe this might be the last question here, but a good question regarding how to pick keywords for a site. So right now, this company is using the impressions of queries that they're seeing from Google Console to understand, you know, what they're showing up for, and then deciding from there which ones they'd like to continue using or remove from the site. But what they're wondering is there a good way to pick keywords for the site aside from just brainstorming what they'd like to be showing up for?
That is such a great question. And I do keyword research a little bit inside out. And what I mean by that is I look at, of course, I look at what terms you already rank for. That's always a starting point. You know, what do we already rank for? What page ranks for that? How do we amplify that? So just make that page better, go deeper, and we can make that page better. Great. That's always a good starting point. But the other next step, when you're asking a question like this, and it sounds like you're doing some of that, the first thing I just said, by looking at your Search Console data. But the other thing, looking at your own site it puts blinders on. You don't know what your competitors are doing. So I do reverse keyword research. I look at the keywords that my competitors are ranking for and try to see where the gaps are. You know, where do we have overlap where we're all ranking for similar terms? And where do we have, you know, where do they have a leg up on me? So to do that, you can use a tool like Ahrefs. My tool also does the same thing. We go in there, I put a competitor's domain in as opposed to my own, and I can see what terms a competitor ranks for. And I can do that for multiple competitors. And I can see, okay, I don't rank for this term. Okay, I don't rank for that. And that gives you also insight into what page that they are ranking, like that term, what page on their site is ranking for that term. Do I have a page like that on my site? Do I talk about the subject on my site? You can see the volume of the keyword, you know, the difficulty of the keyword. Really good SEO tools tell you the difficulty, so you know, I might want to go after this word, but how hard is it going to be for me to win it? So you can kind of, you know, set your expectations. So I highly recommend tools like Ahrefs. Another similar tool to Ahrefs is SEMrush. Remember I talked about SEMrush Sensor earlier? Well, they're a full-blown SEO tool as well, just like Ahrefs is. So both of those have tools you can use to look at competitors' ranking data. Just put your competitor's domain in and click the keywords report, and it'll tell you. And my tool does that as well. And so with that, you have a great set of keywords to go after that you know you can win because your competitors who are in the same space are already winning that. So that's a huge way to get additional keywords as opposed to brainstorming, because your brainstorm kind of keeps you thinking about only what's in your brain But looking outside, that will go a long way. One last tip is to go to where your audience is. Like I like to go to review websites, you know, like Google reviews or Yelp, and I look at the words that my audience is using to describe my goods and services, right? How are they saying the things that I do? And I use those. I use those to go back to a keyword tool. I put those in to see the volume of those terms, like the difficulty of those terms. I'm like, oh, I would have completely missed out on this. My competitors aren't even going after this, but this is a huge win for me. So looking at forums and groups where your audience hangs out is another great way to capture additional keywords.
Well, that brings us right up to time. Mary, thank you so much. I think this was really valuable, and the attendees seem to be agreeing and singing your praises here. You know, we hope everybody found this to be a really useful hour, and like Mary said, go and just test it out and apply it. It's the best way to see what it can do. And so for everyone, I just want to remind you the Small Business School continues next week on Tuesday. We'll be talking about PR and communications. So make sure you join that. If you haven't registered, you can go to our events page at 43north.org and sign up there. There were a couple questions. This presentation will be available on the 43 North YouTube channel afterwards. Some people asked if they're allowed to share it. That's fine. Just make sure you give a shout out to 43 North and of course Mary Owusu here. So thanks again for joining, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye, Mary.
Bye, everyone.